Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome into episode number 86 of our WWE 2022 save. And TEW 2020, you can hear it in my voice. I am pissed because I just recorded a 45-minute episode of SmackDown. And I'll be honest with you, probably one of our best shows. I think it was easily top 5 in terms of all of our storylines, wild occurrences that I will bring up as we go through this quickly. Just a crazy show. And then, of course, it doesn't actually record. You can hear my voice. Like, my voice is going out. Like, I'm now on part 2 here of trying to do this episode. And I am just speechless. Because this, again, we went through like 80 episodes and we had no issues, but we've had like 3 of these issues in the past 10 episodes or something. So, forgive my my anger towards this whole recording software. But SmackDown, we're just going to quickly run through this much quicker than I did before, but I'm not happy because there are a lot of storylines we're putting in motion here, and I'll try to do them justice, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do them as thorough as I did the previous time. All right, we're starting off SmackDown. You can see all the ratings here, and you're going to be able to see the results once I click on them anyways. But anyways, this is where we're at. We start things off on SmackDown. By the way, the Viking Raiders won a pre-show. Who the hell cares at this point? Nonetheless. All right, it's Roman Reigns sitting at his table on his throne, and it's Paul Heyman right beside him, the hand of the king, Paul Heyman. And then we see Jey Uso come in. Jey is not involved in the segment, although you're going to see this, as we had him as not rated. So again, this is going to look a little strange on some of these, but we kind of play up. Of course, last week Roman destroyed Jey, and that's kind of what we're playing up here. Jimmy comes in. He's frustrated. He's about to go off on Reigns. He's talking about how Jey's in the hospital and all this other stuff. And that's when Heyman tells him he better stop talking to Reigns that way or he'll get Jade, is kind of what Heyman says. And, you know, that Jimmy doesn't want that to happen because that's when Heyman reminds Jimmy that he owes Roman Reigns something. And Roman Reigns says that he has come to collect a debt. And he is going to get that from Jimmy, and that basically Jimmy is only here because of him, and they know exactly what he's talking about. And that kind of, you know, sends Jimmy's face in a different direction here. And that is when, you know, they kind of really play this up, and that Roman says, you owe me a favor, and I promise you do me this favor, and I will not hurt your brother. I promise, if you just do me this one favor. And that is when Heyman says, and Jimmy, make sure you pay attention to what we're going to do tonight. And so that's kind of your tease for that. Oh, I'm defeated. You can hear it in my voice. Like, this was so much better the first time around, but it is what it is. All right, you're probably seeing some stuff down there. Match-wise, we started off with Joe defeating Nakamura. We played this up last week. This got a 54, which there was no chemistry between these two, so that's why it got a 54. As you can see, the in-ring performances were not great. I'm stunned that the chemistry was not great between these two, but it is what it is, right? So no chemistry here, and this was one of the many wild occurrences you're going to see on this edition of SmackDown. As Joe gets the win, and then after the match is really what it's all about. Again, you're seeing some spoilers down here. We haven't had 2 returns, and like it's going to get spoiled by you guys just looking at this. I'm not even going to be able to do it in my normal fashion, but nonetheless, Pat McAfee interviews Samoa Joe, and McAfee just wants to know Joe's mindset, and that's when kind of, you know, Joe saying that he's going to prove he's still a machine, and, you know, everyone's kind of doubted that he's on the last legs of his career and all this, but he's going to prove he still, you know, can go, and that's what he's going to do when he wins the Royal Rumble. So Joe making his sights, you know, set on the Royal Rumble and what he's going to accomplish there. So that is kind of where we stand on Joe, is kind of want to prove himself here with this. All right, then it's Mick Foley announcing our main event for next week, which is going to be Drew McIntyre going one-on-one with Aleister Black, which I assume he's in here somewhere. There he is. So, man, this is brutal. That's brutal. Foley announcing it's going to be Drew versus Black next week. And, you know, he's made this announcement. And then in walks none other than the one and only Sami Zayn, who is with The Miz. This is just having to do it this way is just brutal. All right, so they walk in. Owens and Gargano not there. Like, I have to specify this. They are just included as not rated on this because we're focusing on them. And Sami wants, I'll tell you, my Sami commentary was really on for this, for the 45-minute episode too, but you guys may not get as fun out of it, as much fun just based off of that. But Sami wants an update from Mick Foley on the prosecution of Kevin Owens and Johnny Gargano. And this is when Zayn just goes off and talking about, I'm a citizen, and if any other regular citizen walked out of that parking lot and got jumped by those two, they would get arrested. And Sami just continues to push that he wants them arrested. We kind of teased that on Raw, but and that is when Foley's like, Sami, I don't have an update on their arrests as of yet. You can maybe check with the local authorities, or Foley just kind of joking here. And Sami's like, that's a great idea, Mick. I'm going to go give him a call right now. And then Foley's just like, what? No, I was just kidding. But he's like, I will have an update on your situation with the United States Championship because you are going to wrestle at the Rumble. I'll have an update for you in just a little while. So Sami's like, whatever. I got to go call the police. So Sami's off with The Miz to call the police, and that is how that plays up. Then here comes Paige, and we have these three in the ring. Look, it's even got Mandy's old picture here. This is just, I tell you, this is brutal. So Sonya, Mandy, and Shayna all in the ring. And they're just, basically saying, all right, Paige, come on out. Like you said last week, you didn't want to come fight us. Well, come on out. Like, you acted like you had some backup or something. And Paige comes out. She said, yes, I do have backup. And that's going to lead us into an impromptu match here. And here you go. So the returns that are spoiled via this method of this show, Trish Stratus and Lita come out. And that is Paige's backup for the evening, at least, as they come out. And first time we've used Trish in the series. Lita, of course, we used in the Mae Young Classic. She lost to Sasha Banks. But we bring these two back, and I know some people, why don't you bring up people from NXT instead of bringing back the legends? And I get it, but NXT roster right now is pretty bare in terms of women that are popular. Because remember, we started this like June of last year, and we've called up a good group of them already. And there's just not a ton there that are that over. So we decided to use Trish and Lita, and kind of a fun storyline we'll have involved with them. This won't be necessarily a long-term thing, but we bring them back here, and they're going to team with Paige in an impromptu 6-woman tag, and it's going to actually be Paige, Trish, and Lita getting the win over Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, Mandy Rose, as it is Trish getting the pin on Mandy. Of course, you can't see any of that here, but that is how it unfolded. So we're kind of playing up. These three were... the heels were really just kind of laughing at these two returning, basically insinuating that there has-beens and all this other stuff. But then it's Trish actually getting the pin on Mandy Rose to kind of prove that she still has it. So more to come on that. But yes, Trish makes her first appearance in the save via non-theatrical fashion from not being able to do it my own way here. But yes, Trish back, and they actually get a win here. So the New Day announced for the Rumble. It's going to be Kofi and Xavier in there, and we really just kind of play up Kofi wanting a Kofi Mania repeat, and Xavier wanting his own Kofi Mania moments, and they also bring up, look, we've struggled recently since we lost our tag titles. They want to turn things around, so that's kind of what we're playing up here with the New Day also being added to the Men's Royal Rumble. So there is that. Then we have Aleister Black kind of turning his focus to Drew McIntyre for next week. Black and McIntyre are both going to be in action on this episode, but it is Black saying he's going to send Drew McIntyre into the Abyss, and no, that does not mean we're going to get an appearance from the actual Abyss. I apologize to the TNA fans out there, but yes, just, Black piping up the match with McIntyre, and we know there's been so much back and forth between this unit here, and that will be our main event for next week, as we said. So Black getting the win over Humberto here, and this kind of 49 because they had no chemistry. So our second horrendous chemistry note of the evening. But yeah, just for this to get a 49, and even like Malachi Black's, I'm going to do it. You guys know I am. Black's performance here, 54, is just not great. So yeah, hopefully that will mean better things for the match next week with Drew, which I'm sure it will. But yeah, 49 for this was very disappointing. So, but a squash, pretty much a squash here. Black over Humberto. And then, look, we even got Alexa's old picture here. Like, this is just... If you're someone... Let me just say this real quickly as a disclaimer. If you've decided to jump into the save from episode 86 here, please go back and watch from the beginning, because you're going to realize this is not how we do things. And a lot has changed, and we are not using the whatever Alexa Bliss character this could be defined as. There's just, this is not an ideal way to do this, but it's the only way since I lost the recording. So it is Bliss, Dakota Kai, and Kairi Sane all announced for the Royal Rumble. And we just kind of get some promos here. Bliss playing up that, look, she's going to win the Rumble, and she says that will guarantee that the SmackDown Women's Championship will be in their possession. Of course, there meaning she and Raquel Gonzalez, because Raquel is going to challenge Bianca Belair for the Women's Championship at the Rumble. So Alexa playing that up that, no matter what, they're going to have the championship, whether it's her, whether it's Raquel, they will have the title. So that's Alexa's little promo. Dakota Kai talking about just how, she's been looked at as the underdog. She was looked at as kind of the third person in the Mean Girls, but she's already proven that she will kick Alexa Bliss's ass, and she's coming after, the Royal Rumble. She's coming after the championship, and she wants to be champion, and she's going to prove that she has what it takes to do just that by winning the Women's Rumble. Then we get kind of a video package looking at Kairi Sane's highlights and all of that, since she's made her return, teaming with Asuka and all that. So those three announced for the Rumble. That's going to lead us into our tag team match here, which is going to be Alexa and Raquel against Dakota Kai and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, Raquel Gonzalez against Dakota Kai and Bianca Belair. And that is when, we used an angle here where we're playing up, the setup of, we've talked about kind of how Raquel and Dakota Kai have not really had that, big interaction since the breakup of the Mean Girls here. And, that kind of leads to the finish, where the finish is Raquel throws Bianca into the steel post outside. So Bianca's down and out. Meanwhile, inside the ring, that's enough to give Alexa Bliss a little advantage, where she hits her finisher on Dakota Kai. And then Alexa Bliss, rather than pinning Dakota Kai, turns, goes over, smacks Raquel Gonzalez on the back, and says, "You pin her." Because, you can tell what Alexa's doing here, because these two have had these interactions since the split. And, well, Raquel's not really done anything to Dakota Kai, because kind of teasing that there's still a connection there. But then Alexa just, Raquel's just hesitating. And Alexa's like, "I said, go pin her." And then after reluctantly, she doesn't know what to do. And then Raquel goes over and pins Dakota Kai. And that is how the match goes. So we actually get Alexa Bliss and Raquel Gonzalez getting the win over Bianca and Dakota Kai here. So 61 was a pretty decent match. Bianca carrying the way with a 73 in the in-ring. But yes, kind of an interesting dynamic there with Alexa wanting to maybe see, if Raquel would actually do it. And she hesitated for quite a bit there, but she did go over and pin Dakota Kai to give them the win. So that is interesting, and that will be something we look at moving forward. I just remembered. Oh, yes. So, remember everything I said. We know our Women's Championship match is set, right? Raquel versus Bianca Belair. Well, the reason this match only got a 61, which I thought it would do a little bit better, and remember that promo from Alexa Bliss about how they're going to have the championship no matter what? Well, during this match, Raquel Gonzalez suffered a mild concussion, which means that Raquel Gonzalez is out of the Women's Championship match at the Royal Rumble, as Bianca Belair versus Raquel Gonzalez, folks, officially off, because Raquel is out a month, which we'll look at in the news thing here in a second. Brutal. I mean, this is, I talked about the Rhea Ripley plans way back when, changing things. This also is going to change some things. And although then I had a little more time to put some stuff together, now I got 2 episodes to figure out what the hell I'm going to do, changing what was going to be a pretty big development at the Royal Rumble with this whole situation and what all we were going to do on that show involving Raquel and the Women's Championship. So there you go. Just add it to the list, right? The recording doesn't record. Raquel suffers a concussion. She's out of the Rumble match, or she's out of the match against Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title. Just brutal. So there you go. As if this show has not been a disaster enough. Two terrible notes on the chemistry. Raquel's out with a concussion. She's out of the match. Brutal. Asuka, we're looking at her streak here. We did a video package with that. 74 for this one. And so, yeah, just kind of playing up Asuka's aggressive streak there, and that's kind of the basis of that. All right. Foley, Zayn comes in. He's like, I want answers, Mick. It's like Foley said, all right, I told you I'd tell you what's going on in the U.S. title situation. He's like, no, I want more of an update. I tried to call the local police. No one would talk to me. They had not heard of a Kevin Owens or Johnny Gargano being checked in through the local police here. And Foley's just like, Sami, I can't with you right now. I just can't. And Foley says, but here's what I can do. I can tell you who you're going to face at the Royal Rumble in your U.S. title match. I've talked to Steve Austin, and we both agreed, Kevin Owens deserves his rematch. And so he's going to get it. He's going to get a rematch with you. He's going to get in the ring with you at the Royal Rumble for the U.S. title. And Sami's like, that's fine. I already beat him once. Foley's like, but we also decided, too, that, well, Johnny Gargano didn't actually lose to Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens wanted Johnny Gargano to be the next in line for that U.S. title shot, again, in a rematch before you came along. And so I decided, you know what? That's a good idea, Steve. Let's add Johnny Gargano to the match as well. And Sami's starting to flip out. He said, hold on a second. That only gives me a 33.3% chance in this match. And Foley's like, you know what? You're exactly right, Sami. And I thought the same thing. I said, we can't have Sami Zayn being at a disadvantage in this match. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a 50% chance to win this match. And Sami's like, what do you mean? Who are we removing? Owens or Gargano? Foley's like, neither. Because, Sami, it's going to be Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens versus Johnny Gargano versus The Miz for the U.S. Championship at the Royal Rumble. And Sami's like, well, hey, wait a second. How's that 50%? That's 25%. And Foley's like, no, it's not. Because you two are best friends. And there's no way either of you would double-cross the other for a championship, right? And that's when Foley just kind of smirks and he walks off and says, oh, have a nice day. So that is an interesting dynamic added to the mix here, as The Miz is going to join this match in a four-way match for the U.S. title. Sami versus Owens versus Gargano versus The Miz. And, of course, Foley adding here, noting that, Gargano and Owens want to get their hands on The Miz because he's kind of the one that caused all this with the interference that we had in that match between Zayn and Owens. So there's your setup, a four-way match for the U.S. title at the Rumble. And then it is Pat McAfee with Drew McIntyre. And in this one, it is McAfee just really playing up that Drew McIntyre is one of the favorites to win the Rumble. Priest is here with him, and it is just kind of McIntyre saying, look, Pat, I appreciate that. I don't listen to the talk, but I'm only focused on Malachi Black. I'm going to keep doing Aleister Black. Focused on Black. Let's just say that. He's focused on Black here, and he's focused on Apollo Crews, who he's going to face in the main event. So Pat is really playing up that McIntyre is a Rumble favorite here, as it will be McIntyre and Priest both in the Rumble. And Pat just really focused in on McIntyre's chances to win this thing. So that's your setup there. And then our main event actually did really well, guys. Like 83 for this. Drew McIntyre and Apollo Crews. Now, on chemistry notes, they had great chemistry. So finally, we hit on one in what's been a brutal show, both from chemistry, chemistry standpoint and just from, the injury to Raquel Gonzalez. So not ideal, but this one did really well. 83 for this one. So great chemistry between these two. Drew gets the win, and that kind of builds him up heading into our main event next week. All right. Now, we wrap up the show with some angles here. And luckily, I don't have to reveal all this one, so you can't actually see what's going to happen here. But this is Paul Heyman, and just cross out Rollins here. He is not actually involved in this segment, but he is the focus. Heyman comes out with Reigns, and it is Heyman saying that, they've really thought about it, and he's looking around saying, where's Seth? Seth, you're still not here. Where are you? You've disappeared again. And Heyman just kind of mocking Rollins here, saying, Seth, the last time you disappeared, you came back and you tried to hurt the tribal chief by taking your briefcase and using it against him to try to win this championship. And Heyman says, so that's why we've made a decision, Seth. If you really want to get your hands on Roman Reigns, if you want to get your revenge on Roman Reigns, then you're going to have to do one thing, and you're only going to have to do one thing, Seth. That's it. All you have to do is put your briefcase on the line. You walk out here, you tell us, I am putting this briefcase on the line. I'm giving up this Money in the Bank briefcase, and you will get your match against Roman Reigns. But don't be a coward. Face to face, come out here, tell us this is what you're going to do, and that's all we ask. And you will get your match against Roman Reigns. You can have it anytime, any place, and that's your one condition. And so, Heyman just really playing this up here as though that is, Seth's only option, is that all he has to do is put this on the line, and that's when Heyman says, and Seth, we want an answer next week. And they go to leave, and Heyman's like, but I want to make this clear. If we don't get our answer next week, who knows? Jey Uso, Becky Lynch, and so Heyman just really adding to the fire here, mentioning that possibly could Roman Reigns do to Becky Lynch what he did to Jey Uso. My goodness, these two are just animals. And so then Reigns and Heyman, they're headed out. They go up the ramp, so they want an answer from Seth Rollins next week. Will Rollins just give up the briefcase here to get his revenge on Roman Reigns? So kind of setting something in motion on that. But then, out of nowhere, as these two are walking up the ramp from the side of the ramp, here is Seth Rollins. He is back, and Rollins has the briefcase, and he just wallops Roman Reigns with the briefcase, and Reigns is out on the stage, down and out. The briefcases fell, and then what does Seth Rollins do? He turns very slowly to Paul Heyman, who realizes, oh my God, I am all alone with Seth Rollins. And that is when Heyman drops to his knees and is just begging, Seth, please, please, please. And Seth Rollins picks up his briefcase with one hand. He grabs Paul Heyman by the other hand, and he just drags Paul Heyman down to the ring, throws Heyman in the ring. By the way, 100 here for the segment. And he throws Heyman into the ring, and he just looks at Heyman, and Heyman's just down there still begging. He's begging. And that is when Seth Rollins sets up Paul Heyman and hits the curb stomp on Paul Heyman, and Heyman is down, and he is out. So Seth drops Paul Heyman, and then Seth turns to the ramp, and he sees Roman Reigns, who is still down, starting to recover a little bit here, but Heyman down, Reigns still out of it for the most part, and that's when Seth looks back at his briefcase. But before he can do anything else, and yes, you're seeing this, back-to-back 100 segments here, the first time we've ever done that in the save. After hitting the curb stomp on Heyman, he turns to Roman Reigns, and then from behind the curtain quickly comes Jey Uso, who picks up Roman Reigns and drags him from beyond view here, as Seth thought about going after Roman Reigns, but Seth thinks better of it, and he doesn't chase after him. Seth just kind of stands up, he looks around, and he's like, okay. You can just kind of see him say, he's not happy, but Jimmy has saved Roman here after what, Roman did to his brother, but there is something that, again, they talk about this favor. There's some reason that Jimmy owes Roman. We don't know why. There's no specifics, but Jimmy helps Roman out of the picture, and then Seth, after looking up, possibly teasing a cash in, he then turns back to Paul Heyman, who is down still, and that is when Seth Rollins goes over, and he sits the briefcase down, and just as he's acting like he's going to give the briefcase to Heyman, he turns Heyman over, and he hits the curb stomp. He sets up Heyman again, and he gets another curb stomp to Paul Heyman, and Rollins is just irate at this point, furious. The crowd's losing it. So that's how we go off the air, is with Heyman pretty much being just destroyed here by Seth Rollins. Meanwhile, Jey Uso helps Roman Reigns out of there. So that's how we wrap up the episode. It gets an 87. And again, I did my best here on round 2, but round 1 was a lot better. And we're really focused on a lot. But I mean, what a strong finish to the show. Back-to-back 100 segments. We get an 87. So another huge development in the situation involving Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, but a lot of stuff on this card. We've set up our main event for next week, Drew McIntyre versus Aleister Black. The Raquel Gonzalez injury is really throwing things in a big way, but we do get a catchphrase here for Roman. So Roman debuts a catchphrase. Our tribal chief is just unbelievable at this point. He's going to sell a hell of a lot of t-shirts with this one, so good for him. SmackDown was awesome. We looked down the list here, and Raquel's sidelined. So mild concussion. She's out for a month. I looked at it. It's like, 27 days? Yeah, 27 days. So she is officially out of the Bianca Belair match for the SmackDown Women's Championship we've been building up for almost 2 months now, since it's basically Survivor Series. So that match is off. Just brutal. We had a bunch of mail. I don't remember what the mail was. I really don't. Like, I'm just defeated at this point. Not only with the Raquel thing, but with the recording. So, anyways, there you go. That was SmackDown. Raquel's out. We got to do some shuffling, quite a bit of shuffling here, based on what we had in mind. But yeah, so that's that. But anyways, that was a good show, 87. We finished with back-to-back 100s. A lot of good stuff there, but a lot of stuff also that was not what we had planned. But there you go. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Like I said, I promise the videos are better than this one because this was an impromptu video based on the recording, not saving for the actual show that we went through. So be sure to do all that and check out the AEW and WCW saves as well. Those are really kind of ramping up there. A lot of fun stuff going on there. CM Punk drama in the AEW one, which I guess in reality there's some CM Punk drama. But sold out. We just came off a sold out in the WCW save. So we're moving towards Hollywood Hogan versus Bret Hart. So that's a huge match we're building to there. So check those saves out. And on the next episode of our WWE 2022 save, it will be Raw for January Week 3.